Hello, friends, and welcome again to Tulsa Time. You'll notice that we're not in the ordinary studio that we occupy. That studio is getting a little bit of refreshing, changing the decor and so forth. So today we're just shooting in my office. So all the mess has been pushed over there out of camera range. And today we are blessed to have with us Deacon Kevin Sartorius, who many of you will know. He is very, very well known around the diocese, CEO of Catholic Charities of Eastern Oklahoma. Deacon Kevin also is a husband, father of seven, and a deacon in our diocese, a permanent deacon. And so since 2004, Deacon Kevin has helped to transform our Catholic Charities into an amazing ministry. I think the envy of anybody who sees it. I, of course, had never heard of any of it until I came in 2016 for my press conference to announce I was coming as a bishop. And we did that at Catholic Charities. And I was blown away that first day seeing that operation. And so we literally have womb-to-tomb care at our Catholic Charities, from St. Elizabeth Lodge, caring for pregnant mothers, all the way to Porticelli House, caring for people who are dying in their last days of life. And so we're very happy to have you with us, Kevin.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, so you might just tell us a little bit at the beginning about your journey to the diaconate. We'll start with that.
Sure. Well, it's, you don't know where you're headed in the moment, but when you look back, you can see the little stair steps.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in an incredible Catholic family, and my parents are very faith-filled. They go to Mass here in Broken Arrow, and they really were the remote preparation. My dad worked for Newman College up in Wichita. They met at St. Mary of the Plains in Dodge City, so a real Catholic family. But I had the right clay, perhaps, for it. I went to a Cursillo retreat when I was working as a consultant. Didn't know anything about it. A guy who I didn't even know came up and asked me, "Will you do this?" I was like, "Sure, I'll go to Cursillo." And I mean, it just really, really turned my life upside down. And I said, I can't do consulting. I got to go to Nigeria. I got to go to Africa and be a missionary. And those guys tackled me and said, hang on a second, bloom where you're planted. And that conversion experience led me to Catholic Charities, led me to really understand that I had a calling really all along to the diaconate. I hadn't known many deacons growing up. So it was a new experience for me to see Deacon Tim Sullivan, to see many of the deacons of our diocese, John Donnelly at St. Benedict's, and understand that a deacon was a servant, and that's what I wanted to be.
How many years had you been married at that point?
Well, I went into the diaconate in 2007, and I got married in 92. So, you're 25 years, 15 years maybe. I don't know what the numbers are.
Your second vocation then.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. My first marriage is rocking and rolling. We're at 33 years now.
That's awesome.
And the second vocation, I'm still trying to figure it out, how to be a deacon.
I think that's one thing that people oftentimes don't appreciate about our deacons is that you have a family, you work full-time jobs, and you do all of this work in the church with no compensation. I was sharing that with the community in Collinsville last weekend that, as we had Deacon Appreciation Weekend this past weekend. So kind of how did your family kind of factor into your discernment and how does your family participate even in your diaconate ministry?
Right. Well, I would say that the deacons in our diocese are really top notch. I was just in St. Louis this last weekend, and I was talking with the guy who forms all the deacons in St. Louis. He goes, "Oh, I've heard about Tulsa." And, just to have that kind of reaction is an awesome thing. But the diaconate is another full-time job, right?
Yeah.
But it really, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. I mean, the family has benefited tremendously from the parents growing closer to God. And because Jennifer and I chose this route, because I am an ordained minister in the church, the children have known the church in a special way. Yeah. And it's brought forth vocations. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I often, when I'm with you at Mass, I look out there. Oh, where are they? Oh, there they are.
They're well behaved. They pay attention. They talk about the homily on the way home.
Oh, good.
They're the first ones to say, "Is your seatbelt buckled?" And they're the first ones to say, "Are we going to daily Mass today?"
Yeah.
And so Mom puts a lot of miles on the car going to St. Anne's or St. Benedict's or Holy Family to get those kids to daily Mass. Mm-hmm. And to adoration as well. We spend a lot of time in adoration.
Well, and the fruit of that is showing as well. You've got one daughter in a convent in Arlington, Texas. Now your son has just literally, yesterday moved to the seminary.
All right, Kenrick Seminary. We moved him in, and he has a long path of discernment towards the priesthood. But I'm very proud of the fact that he's willing to take that look. Mm-hmm. And his older brother is discerning marriage and doing it in a very serious and Catholic way. Mm-hmm. And so all the kids really have taken up the family business, if you will, of the church. Yeah. And there's no greater gift for a mom and dad than to see that faith in their children.
Sure. We did a whole series, Daniel, it was like 6 episodes, I think, on marriage.
I watched a lot of this.
Yeah.
I'm not too old to learn.
It was kind of funny, and we were joking about it, that it took us so long, like 2 months worth of of recordings, to get the poor couple from birth to engagement.
Well, now you know what Carol Wojtyla was up to with Theology of the Body. A lot of Wednesday audiences, right, went into making that discernment of a new approach towards marriage and the human person.
Yeah, and the church is talking about that now. Pope Francis was using the language of a marriage preparation catechumenate. Mm-hmm. So this idea of the catechumenate model that comes from the OCIA, which is basically saying there are real accomplishments of faith and spirituality and understanding of what a sacrament is that mark the path to saying that a couple is adequately prepared.
Yeah.
Any couple is free to go to the courthouse and put down their money and get married anytime they want. But the church, in terms of the sacrament, understands that because of its high requirements, because the vocation is so rich and so, for that reason, difficult, challenging, the couple really needs to understand it well and then be able to live it, and so prepared for it.
Right. I mean, to be called to steward children, to raise saints, that's an almost impossible task in today's culture, honestly. And yet we don't do it alone. We do it with the Lord. And I'm just really amazed to see how they challenge themselves to grow. How a 15-year-old girl will walk out of her bedroom with a catechism in her hand and say, "What does this mean?" And I'm thinking, like, why are you thinking about that? You should be reading. No, you should be reading that. And don't do anything but smile and try and answer the question.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think in your particular situation, as a deacon and in your profession, with being the CEO of Catholic Charities, is a great combination of kind of the spirit of the diaconate and also the work that you do. And so maybe let's move from kind of your call to the diaconate into your call to work at Catholic Charities, and just how you see the connection between your diaconal ministry and the fact that you get to do that as your professional career at Catholic Charities.
I started, my dad worked for the Red Cross for like 25 years as the CEO. I worked the Oklahoma City bombing. I worked the TWA Flight 800 air disaster. I was in Moscow when there was a coup going on. The Red Cross was pulling people out of a building where there was fighting. And all of those were incredible endeavors. And my dad's work was motivated by Christian charity. But very often, the secular humanist kind of nature of the nonprofit sector is a real letdown, honestly. And so as a deacon, one thing that I get to bring to Catholic Charities is the mind of the bishop, if you will. He is the owner, if you will, of Catholic Charities. And as a deacon, we would say that charity, Christian charity, is loving another person, for the sake of loving God, in that context. It's not it's not about grades. It's not about nutrition or food. It uses maybe education or nutrition, but it's for the sake of loving them and helping them to see that God loves them. That deacon training that I received, and then the ministerial component of my work, really, I think, enlivens the way that we approach Catholic Charities. And there's 5 deacons that are employees at Catholic Charities. So we stand as guides, perhaps, in that work, and as maybe advisors. But really, we affirm when our lay faithful of the diocese reach out and love families who come to Catholic Charities. It's really beautiful to watch. The training I had was rigorous academically as a deacon, and it really called us then to I think change gears and say, I'm a lifelong student. I don't know this yet. I'm learning this. And so every time a new document comes out, Pope Francis's last encyclical was beautiful when it comes to how we serve in charity, respecting the Sacred Heart of Jesus. It's just great to look at loving people through the eyes of the diaconate, and to then take that into what would otherwise be called the nonprofit world, which is not what we do, but what we brush up against every day.
Yeah, that's a challenge. In every context, Christian charity, as opposed to simply social work, is a challenge, and the more so when there are lots of ways to get at money, but a lot of that money comes with all kinds of strings attached to it, and so we're pretty discerning in terms of our Catholic Charities, in terms of how we maintain our autonomy to do the mission as a Catholic Christian ministry. Right.
Well, I think it's natural. We want to. Anybody wants to, let's say, be mindful of their benefactor. I don't know how to say it in a nicer way.
Yeah.
If Grandpa and Grandma gives their grandkids some money for Christmas, the grandkids, they want to do right with that gift and honor their grandparents. Well, when a Catholic Charities receives funding, we want to honor and know the intention and honor that intention of the donor. If the donor is in our community and knows Catholic Charities and knows that we're Christ's merciful love to those who suffer, that's a real benefit. If we simply become a subcontractor of the state or the federal government, it really the salt loses its taste, doesn't it? And it becomes a real mess, honestly. So we've chosen to stay smaller in some respects. I mean, maybe we're mid-size, maybe we're big, but we've chosen to stay smaller to maintain our character. And I think that's been a great opportunity for us.
Yeah.
To witness even to the community.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing one of the things that I love about our Catholic Charities is it's a Catholic campus. I mean, through and through. I mean, you can't walk around the campus and not pick up on.
One of the volunteer, or maybe it was an employee, surveys that we did, we asked people kind of open-ended questions, and one of them said, I like Catholic Charities because it's a monastery of ministries. And I thought, wow, that is a real compliment to use the language of the church to describe the way our campus is set up and the way we operate. And so we're serving the poor, but really, who are the poor? It's really all of us. I'm served by being there. Our employees, our volunteers, they're served because they get to be the love of Christ. And that's incredibly uplifting.
Yeah.
But it has to be done from a Christian vantage point.
And that's why, it's the Catholic nature of our ministry that is the reason why anybody can come, anybody can volunteer, anybody can donate.
Well, certainly, every single person who approaches Catholic Charities is made in the image and likeness of God, and then they, because of the human condition, they come fallen, right? And so they'll have a lot of attributes. They'll be old or sick, or maybe have a felony, or they could be of this nationality or that religion. All those are attributes, but strip all that away, and they're one of God's children. And it's an opportunity then for us to interface with Jesus Christ. Sometimes a hard opportunity, you know, it isn't always easy. And we're not called necessarily to solve their problem. It's an American construct that we have to solve the problem. They're not a problem, they're a person. And probably we're not capable of solving. We're there to love, to accompany, as Francis would have said, just to learn from them, and maybe to teach a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's really more relational than it is transactional, we hope.
Yeah.
We've kind of already touched on it, but I think a lot of people are surprised that the number of individuals that are served on that Catholic campus of Catholic Charities, the majority of them are not Catholic. You know, that the Catholic Church in Eastern Oklahoma is quite small when you look at the number of Catholics per capita, per geography. But the outreach of Catholic Charities, not just here in Tulsa, but all across Eastern Oklahoma. We have sites now in, I think, all the counties but one, maybe, in Eastern Oklahoma. So maybe talk about that kind of unique call or charism of Catholic Charities to encounter everybody.
Yeah, we if you go through the 31 counties, Cole County is the one place we don't really have something established right now. But if you were to be south of I-40, let's say, there just aren't very many Catholics. God bless the ones who are, because they roll up their sleeves and they deliver groceries and they take care of people. In small towns, or even at the Tulsa campus, people are shocked about two things. I'm not Catholic and you're going to help me. And then the next thing that they often figure out is, wait a minute, you're a volunteer. You're not getting paid to do this?
Yeah.
And it just really blows them away. Why would you do that? And my faith community growing up, they wouldn't help someone unless they went to our church. Well, welcome to the Catholic Church. We're different. We love every person because that's what we're called to do. The charity of Christ urges us on. We're not doing this necessarily because you're in need. We're doing this because God compels us to do it. It just so happens that we're experiencing you in your need. Very few people that come are Catholic. Very few people. And yet, many times they come to us because we are Catholic. So people will walk in the door and say, my aunt told me to come here because I should ask for a priest because they would solve my problem. And it's like, well, what's your background? Well, I've never gone to church, but I'm in big trouble and I want to talk with somebody. It could be that they experience something through a friend or whatever else, but they know they're welcome.
Yeah.
And they will oftentimes tell us things that could get them in big trouble. You know, I mean, we've had incredible stories. My son has murdered somebody. He's running, and I don't know if I should turn him in or if I should help him. I don't know what I should do. But they know they can come and kind of pour their heart out to the Catholic Church, and that they trust that we'll keep it in confidence, but guide them to what is right and just. And that's our duty at our salvation, right? At all times and everywhere.
And I think, if that's not beautiful enough to say we serve, the majority of people that we serve are not Catholic, maybe we'd also speak about some of the unique partnerships that Catholic Charities have been able to forge with other, Christian denominations or other faith communities who share kind of in that same kind of vision of the human person. Because I think that's another kind of beautiful show of ecumenicalism and interdenominational working.
Right. For us to have said yes to the Afghans as a more recent example, people really stepped out and said, that is crazy. How many of those people are Catholic? You say, well, I can't imagine. There's a single Catholic in the group of 800. Why would you do that? Well, because we love them. We've never met them, but Pope Benedict would teach us that we love the person we've never even met. And in that process, others will say, well, I want in on that. I want to be a part of that. And it could be anyone from, say, Turkish Raindrop here in Broken Arrow, which is a Muslim organization, to the mosque, who said, we want to be a part of this. It could be First Presbyterian Church downtown who brought us in, and we had a Zoom call with other churches, and they had people texting them saying, I can't get onto the call because there were 250 logged in and Zoom had been tapped out. People wanted to buy the furniture. They wanted to welcome people. They wanted to make the meal. And there were people who were wearing our T-shirt. South Tulsa Baptist, Pastor Eric Costanzo, who's over kind of by 101st and Yale. He went to every single arrival of those Afghans at the Tulsa airport, and he wore a Catholic Charity shirt at every single arrival. He was interviewed on TV, and someone said, hey, who is this guy? And I had to look him up, and it's like, doggone it, if he's not a Baptist preacher. But we know that loving another person is what we're called to do. It's a part of the natural law. And so you don't have to be Catholic to know that, that we're called to reach out and care for the other person. And so when we model that as a church, it's attractive to other people. I think it was maybe Robert Barron, Bishop Barron, who said that charity is the back door to the Catholic Church. It's hard maybe to walk in Holy Family and see the statues and not understand when to kneel and stand, but to come and help a refugee arrival or to give food to a friend that they've just met in the community. That's something they can do, and then they experience Catholicism. And they say, this is actually what I like. I enjoy this. I want this. Not everyone becomes Catholic, but they're all richer because they've experienced Catholic charities. And, it's we learn from them too. We haven't cornered the market on charity, but we can be leaders in that.
Obviously, nutritional assistance has been something that you all have put a lot of effort into. And so maybe talk about some of the unique partnerships around the nutrition ministry and outreach.
Yeah, we deliver millions and millions of pounds of food every year in eastern Oklahoma, half of which goes outside of the Tulsa community to our surrounding parishes, and maybe it's to a school, a parking lot that we deliver that food. But in the process of building up that ministry or that apostolate, we've had to grow in our corporate relationships even. So what we would go to is a company and say, we're not here to beg food for the poor. We're here to do you a favor. And they're like, oh, come on. But when we sit down with them, we'll say, look, you've got 1,000 dairy cows. You're going to have to milk them every day, whether you have a buyer or not. And so when you don't have a buyer, you're dumping that product back into the ground. Or you're bottling it, putting it in milk bottles, let's say, gallon jugs, and then you have to destroy it because it wasn't picked up by a buyer. And that's true with the guy who's growing potatoes. He'll have 85% of his potatoes will be purchased, and the other 15%, he just has to turn those under and waste them. That's not what any farmer wants to do. It's not what Walmart wants to do, or Dot Foods or Target or any of these other places. They don't want to pay to destroy product. So we can come before it's expired, while it's still good product, pick that up, save them money because they don't have to destroy it, improve their employee morale, give them a tax benefit. And oh, by the way, come out and volunteer and watch where it's distributed. And when they get their employees out there on our campus to help distribute that food, they say, this is like one of the best days of the entire 5 years I've worked at Highland Dairy. This is amazing. We've got to keep doing this. And so for the company, they are oftentimes skeptical on the front end, and then they're writing us thank you notes because we're coming to get their product for free at the end of the process. And I would say that's a unique aspect of the Catholic Church. We have a distribution channel, wink, wink, if you want to use those kind of terms, of 70 parishes. We've got pastors who are leaders in small communities. We've got city managers who go to our parishes that can get the cones and the police force out there to direct traffic. We're organized. Talk about healthcare, talk about education, talk about service and charity.
Mm-hmm.
You've met the real deal, right? And I'm not trying to be pompous, but
No.
it's something that I think we should not look past, because for he who is given much, much is expected.
Mm-hmm.
We really have to stand up and be leaders in our community.
Yeah, and I think that's what has happened. The organizational prowess of our Catholic Charities has led to such a high degree of ability that other leaders do then come and talk to us.
It's super regular.
And corporate people recognize, and donors recognize, hey, this is a place that can get something done if it needs to get done.
Yeah, people on the corporate side would say, well, I was expecting like a closet. Well, we've got, massive trucks, CDL trucks, forklifts, motorized pallet jacks. We've got giant cooler systems, pallet systems for dry goods. We've got computer systems that do inventory control, and a Benedictine nun who knows how to, use that system. Yeah. And so it really knocks their socks off when they see the professionalism of that. Now, from a Catholic Charities Network perspective, we've been able to bring in folks from Dallas and Omaha and, just really all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
There have probably been 15 or 20 of the Catholic Charities who've come and said, we want to study this and replicate it. If you were to go to Kansas City Catholic Charities, they're building a market just like ours. And you look at their fundraising materials, doggone it, it's pictures of our market that are in their materials.
Yeah.
God bless them. What a gift that we can share what we've learned.
Sure.
And allow them to serve the people in need in their community.
Mm-hmm.
But I really am excited about the food ministry. It brings not only on that back end, but on the front end when we're distributing, we have companies who say, I want my employees to have something meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
And so they come and they volunteer. They do the distribution with us. We always try and have a counterbalance of our really experienced volunteers, very Catholic volunteers,
Mm-hmm.
but we can welcome in the bank or the folks from First Pres or the folks from Tulsa Public Schools, and let them work with the folks as they choose the food they're going to have and take it out to the car.
Yeah.
It's a great partnership that we have with our community.
Well, food, to my mind, food, we used to do clothes, the maternity house. To my mind, those are some things that are sort of natural and what you might say almost expected ministries. But the innovative things that we have, the dental clinic, the immigration office, the car repair garage, those I think are things that are really unique and wonderful about what we do.
So when you think of the corporal works of mercy, feeding and clothing and caring, those will naturally be what Catholic Charities does across the world, Caritas in Europe or wherever else. What we've had, though, is as 5,000, 7,000 volunteers get involved on our campus, they come and they say, I will not come back next week unless we do something about this. Well, what, Joe? All these folks, I asked them, why are you here? We want to help you with groceries. And many of them, their response is, well, my car broke down, and so I couldn't get to work, and now I have this car bill, and I have less income. And why don't we just fix the cars? And so those volunteers, they're listening. They're not just sacking, they're listening. They then start working on the car out in the parking lot. And we say, no, wait a minute, you can't do that. And they say, watch me. And so oftentimes, just as David was the runt, right, of the family and the one that wasn't expected to be the leader, you'll have someone at Catholic Charities who's volunteering or an employee who will say, we can't let this sit there. We have to do something. And so you build a building and have car lifts, and you're fixing cars professionally. We had a board member who said, when you build that new campus, you really need to think of dental care. And that was Tom Neff. He was at St. Francis as a strategic planning guy. And we said, Tom, we got our hands full. And he said, I'll work with you. and Dr. Mike Spradlin came alongside us to help start it up. A volunteer dentist who worked, essentially as a full-time employee for years getting that dental program established. The dedication, the commitment, the innovation of the Catholic people in Eastern Oklahoma is really a story to be told. It's beautiful to see.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, what would you say if you had to pick one or two of the most impactful things that you've seen in your time at Catholic Charities of how that ministry has radically put a person's life on a different trajectory?
Gosh. There are so many. There are so many every day. I'll give you one that maybe you wouldn't expect, and that is I went back to talk with a lady. We had served a meal, and someone said, there's a lady here who ate, and she really had a bad day. She came into the pregnancy program and had a pregnancy test, and she was positive. So she's very nervous about that. Her boyfriend said he was going to go move the car, and he drove away.
Mm-hmm.
So now the meal's done. Everybody's emptying out, and she's sitting in there crying. And we could have said, well, that's too bad. That's terrible. But what happened was people said, hey, let's get you some housing. Let's make sure that you've got what you need for the next several weeks. Let's now get you into Madonna House. Let's talk about adoption if that's the right thing for you. In the end, she did choose adoption. She actually was at one point scheduled for an abortion. And we had an all hands on deck moment where we got our ultrasound machine donated by the Knights of Columbus out and showed her baby. And she said, I can't go through with that. She was a refugee, and so we had to work with the U.S. court system on how she would approach that legally. There were so many people involved, and yet her life was completely changed. She does not have the regret of an abortion. She knows that she was loved. Her child was adopted and is growing up in a wonderful, healthy family. That's just a somebody noticing a down situation after a meal in the lunchroom. Now you go to the other end of the spectrum. I can remember walking into a woman's room at Porticelli House and her saying, I'm really afraid to die. I've been a bad person. And saying, well, let's talk about that. And in the course of an hour or two of sitting there talking with her, both of us crying, calling in a priest to offer last rites for her, to hear her confession, to give her viaticum, to have her know the confidence in the Lord's mercy. Absolutely just amazing kind of days that you would have. You could go to prison and see someone who's got tattoos up and down their arm with a skull and snakes crawling through the mouth of the skull and saying, you're not talking me into anything. And 3 days later, they're running around flapping their arms, singing All Fly Away, because the love of the people who are in front of them, convincing them that God has mercy no matter what their crime was. Just crazy stuff, miracles, really. And these things are commonplace, not just at Catholic Charities, but in Kairos Prison Ministry or in folks who are visiting the homebound or visiting nursing homes, which is technically speaking not Catholic Charities, but it's the charity of the church. These things are amazing. And I just can't believe that I get to be a part of it, to sit there and watch somebody make that transformation from this life to the next and say, wow, I just saw the coining of a saint. Someone who came back in the last minutes. I can remember one guy who had brain cancer, and he went through that same process at Porticelli House, and the family came in and said, oh, no, you don't. He's not a good guy, and he doesn't deserve to have a Catholic funeral. And he'd say, I know it's hard. I know it's hard for you to understand this, but God worked a miracle for this man, and you can come to the funeral or not, but he changed in the last days. He faced his maker and he made up.
Yeah.
Just beautiful stories, really.
It's amazing.
Yeah, when I arrived that first day, it was a frame.
It was the
The
skeleton,
building
wasn't it?
was a skeleton frame of 2x6s, and they were still finishing it. And now there's how many? We're up to over 1,000 over.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it's about 350 guests a year
Yeah.
that we're able to serve. Some programs have large numbers and some have small numbers. It's about every soul. To go back to Madonna House and just sit and let them ask questions, like, what's with you guys putting your hand in the water thing? Because most people we serve aren't Catholic.
Right.
And to introduce them to the ideas and concepts of the church, they really have never been evangelized.
Mm-hmm.
And it's growth that happens like exponentially in those days, that they're seeing somebody, they learn to trust us, and they start to open up.
Mm-hmm.
Do they become Catholic? Sometimes, yes. Sometimes they go to the church of their grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
It's for us to plant the seed maybe into water, but it's for God to grant the increase.
Yeah.
We just can't get caught up in all those details.
We've covered a lot today on kind of where Catholic Charities is, and I think that acknowledgement that the fuel obviously is the Christian charity of the volunteers, as well as the financial generosity, not just of Catholics, but other foundations and people of goodwill, people of faith.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look to the future, what would you say are some of the greatest financial needs?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe someone who's listening today is feeling compelled, to reach out to Catholic Charities. So what would be some of your kind of immediate financial needs, but also just kind of where do you see Catholic Charities in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, I don't think we plateaued by any means. When you look at where the community is, right now, Tulsa talks a lot about homelessness. And what we see in homelessness and the response to it is really kind of desperation and trying to fix something when it's just really so hard. What Catholic Charities would say, or what the church would say probably, is that you begin with the family.
Mm-hmm.
If we can strengthen the family, if we can prevent that family from becoming homeless, then what ends up taking place is kind of a catch and release. There was a bump in the road. There was a crisis situation.
Mm-hmm.
But because the church was able to intervene and help respond, it didn't become a total disaster. Homelessness for an adult is traumatic. For a child, it's life altering.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want it to get to that point. So as we look to the next, say, 3 to 5 years, what we would want to do is not to have a response to homelessness, but to have a response to families in crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be increased capacity and location in our rural communities for food. It really will be, I think, a more robust counseling program where we help people in difficult marriages, maybe identified through, say, Communio, but also folks who just come to us with their challenge in hand, working with young people through traumatic situations. We do a thing called ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences. It's a little bit of a listening on the part of the staff person to hear the things that have happened to a person in the young part of their life.
Mm-hmm.
And from that, we can begin to respond to that. And I said that it was a trauma for me to take the survey, to just hear the questions that are common in the lives of people in Eastern Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
Did your parents beat you? Did you see them using drugs?
Mm-hmm.
Were they divorced? Were they this? Were they that? All of these adverse childhood experiences, when you add up that score, you begin to understand this person was robbed of the childhood that God planned for them because of the fallen nature of the world. And in justice, we're called to restore them to the extent that we can. So I think our future, when we talk to the Catholic hospitals, they would say there's a community health needs assessment that we've done.
Mm-hmm.
When we look at the needs of the community, we think Catholic Charities is a big part of the answer. We're humble. We can only do so much. But to the extent that we participate with St. Francis and St. John Ascension, we would like to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's more and more than confidence and capacity that we're building to move into the future. I think one of our big challenges will be that we're really outgrowing the campus. And that's going to be a real challenge for us in the next, say, 3 to 5 years. We think we might be called to add additional space at another location, but I'd hate to go into a capital campaign. I'd like to just lease. Now, what I know is that God's plans aren't mine. And so we'll see what he has to say about it all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I remember, during COVID, we were leasing and borrowing warehouse space and refrigerated warehouse space and making good use of things like that.
All you have to do is, that was 4 or 5 hours. So we put out and we said, God has given us like pallets and pallets of food. It's on trucks coming. We don't have any place to set it down. So we know he has an answer. We just don't know what it is. If you've got a warehouse, please step forward. And by 24 hours, by the next day, we had the warehouse. And we used it for probably 2 years at no cost. An incredibly generous donor who said, I want to be a part of this. Or I want to continue to be a part of this, really. And we see that happen all the time, where the situation feels out of control, and yet it's very much in God's hands. There was a phone call that came in one day, and they brought a name back to me, and they said, this lady, her apartment has burned. She had no insurance. We need to refurnish her apartment. And I said, we don't really do that exactly. Well, I'm just going to set the name right here. So then, like 2 or 3 hours later, somebody calls and says, hey, I'm coming into town. My dad has passed away. My mom predeceased. I want to get some pictures and some documents and some other things, but I've got a whole house of things I don't want. Could you guys use that in any way? The very same day, the Lord delivers after the need has been brought forward. And you just say, doggone it, that's not fair. You've got an unfair advantage. But that happens a lot. I mean, I could give you 4 or 5 of those where it's just very, very clear that the Lord has already got it planned out. And we just have to be patient and let the donor step forward.
What was the prophet said, you duped me, Lord, and I let myself be duped.
Right. I set myself up and you knocked me down. But it's very humbling because his plans, he can accomplish so much more than we could ever ask or imagine. And I don't know, why do we doubt? But we're human and we worry sometimes.
Deacon, I think all of us would agree that the work that you have done and do at Catholic Charities has been profound. And I think an expression of that came when the board asked you to leave. The board asked you to take a sabbatical, and kind of gifted you with that time just as a point of refreshment. And you chose to go to Guatemala. So maybe share with us kind of your experience of Guatemala, because in the next Eastern Oklahoma Catholic, there's going to be a full display of your trip. And so maybe give us a little taste of what we're going to read in the upcoming edition of the EOC.
Right. Well, Guatemala is a part of Tulsa or Oklahoma and vice versa. And I saw that firsthand when I went there. I was a young man in Oklahoma City, the Archdiocese, and Father Dan Monahan was the editor of the Eastern Oklahoma Catholic. The Sooner Catholic. He would correspond with Stanley Rother, Father Stanley Rother, and he would bring those letters in and read them to us. And so I heard of Stan when I was a little kid. And I can remember the day that Father Monahan came to Mass and said, he just went up there in front of everyone and he said, they've killed Stan. And I was 11 years old. And I just thought, I don't understand that. Who would kill a priest? But I mean, what do I know, right? There's all kinds of martyr priests. But it shocked me that would happen. And it was the same summer that we had Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. So here's Indiana Jones going down into some Central American country and stealing this little gold head and putting the bag of sand on there. That was the same summer that they killed Stan. He gave his life for the people, the Mayan people. What a striking difference between those two stories. Who's the hero? Is it Indiana Jones? I think it's Blessed Stanley Rother.
Sure.
It's always been in my mind. I've always wondered about Stan, and have wanted to get to know him better. This can be hard for me to talk about, honestly.
Yeah.
But when the opportunity came forward, really my first choice was to chase after the Lord in the Holy Land, and yet it didn't allow.
Yeah.
And so I said, well, maybe the second choice, Bishop, would be to go to Guatemala. And so I pursued that with Father Don Wolf, who is the rector of the shrine. And he immediately had a solution for me. And it was an incredible experience, just an incredible experience. To be amongst Mayan people, to be amongst people who speak Tutsi Heel. We've heard about that, right? Stan learned this. He couldn't learn Latin, but he could learn Tutsi Heel. To be there, that first Sunday and read the gospel very poorly in a foreign language. Spanish was their language of their liturgy. But then to hear them get up at the end of Mass and do announcements and hear my name in that language, it just was really a grace-filled moment.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Beautiful experience.
You were down there 6 weeks?
I was 3 months in Guatemala.
Yeah.
And it took me about 2 or 3 weeks to let go of Tulsa.
Yeah.
We changed my email password before I went, and we did everything we could to block me from thinking about work. And it was really tough because it's how we're wired.
Yeah.
But once I got into the swing of it and was going to adoration, was going to Mass every day, was just going to the homes of people and eating with them. Very, very, very simple homes. It was incredible.
And were you reconstructing a chapel or something that you had some kind of?
There was a chapel that the parish that I stayed at was the outpost for Stanley. There's Santiago, which I went to many times. And then there's Cerro de Oro, the Hill of Gold, this little village. Stanley had a church there. Then Father Thomas McSherry had to build a larger church because the community grew drastically. But it's up the hill, and the elderly can't go up there. So we can take communion to them, but they wanted to build a chapel. And it was literally volcanic rock hauled by hand, and then you'd sit there and chisel out that rock into a flat block. And then somebody who knew more than me stacked it where it would stay. And the interesting thing there was I sat down with a guy to kind of teach me a little bit how to do that. And I said, my name is Deacon Kevin, Diaconate Kevin. He said, I'm Kevin. I'm like, oh, I don't believe that for a second. And he pulled out his little ID card, and sure enough, his name's Kevin in this village in Guatemala. So just a lot of opportunity to sit and talk with people, get to know people, do some, or at Labora, some manual labor and some prayer.
And at a certain point, your family came down, I think, right?
My wife came, and so did my oldest son, John Paul.
Nice.
And they spent some time in the community. We were able to have Mass with the bishop there, Bishop Domingo, Bishop Obispo, Bishop Sunday. But he was very gracious and kind to me while I was there. Yeah. We went to the Mass of the Oils during Holy Week, right. And I assumed I'd sit, in the back beside the priest, and he's like, no, you're going to serve up here in the sanctuary at the altar. And I'm like, oh my gosh, So they really honored me, and I was very humbled by how they treated me at the seminary, at the parish, at Santiago in the parish. Just beautiful.
Yeah.
So having come off of that and are now back, full swing, what fruits do you still draw from that sabbatical kind of into the present moment?
Yeah, well, when so let's say I go over to Santiago and a seminarian takes me there who grew up in that parish. I wasn't in a hurry to rush and see where Stanley was killed. I thought it'll happen when it's supposed to happen. Maybe a month in, he said, I want to take you there. And
the same seminarian.
And it was, you could smell the gunpowder and you could hear the shot in the room. I mean, I just sat there many days for several hours. But to be taken there and to have a seminarian ask me if he could take me there, that is the fruit of Stanley. I mean, yes, he did agriculture. Yes, he maybe had a clinic or did a radio station. Those things have developed in some way or they're gone. What really is rich and alive in that diocese, 70 seminarians, where they didn't have enough priests to even have Mass in Santiago. They now have almost an abundance. And they're really wonderful young men. There's a guy, Deacon Gregario. He'll be ordained this December in the church of where Stanley was martyred. And that's just such a rich blessing.
Yeah.
The priesthood is the future of the Catholic Church.
Right.
Those seminarians will be the next generation who'll carry on his ministry. To be able to see them and experience it was incredible.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. My only encounter with it was at the beatification and seeing the people that had come from Santiago Titlan there and the amazing love that they had for him all these years later.
They do. They have it. There are people who I met who had experienced Stanley personally. I was a young person. He gave me a job to make chairs. And so there's all these wooden chairs that have this specific look that are still in the community.
Yeah.
That were from a little shop Stanley created. That this gentleman I had dinner with and his family, he wanted to talk with me because I came for that reason.
Yeah.
There were others I experienced in the same way. But if you go around the Diocese of Sololá, you will see Stanley everywhere. He is in every single church. There are pictures of him. There are relics of him. When they do server training, the announcement is a picture of Stanley with the date and the time for server training.
Oh, nice.
So I had these flat Stanley sightings all over the place. In the cathedral in Sololá, there's a very large piece of bone from Stanley embedded in the very front of the altar.
Oh, wow.
And if you go to the Carmelite monastery, I stayed in a Carmelite monastery for a night. You go into the chapel, they have a vial of blood of Stanley Rother, which is, 100 miles from where he was martyred. But they know Stanley and they love Stanley.
Yeah.
Now, interestingly, you go to the Catholic school in town and every classroom has a name. And you've got Bishop Slattery and Bishop Beltran, and all of these classrooms have names of people from Tulsa or from Oklahoma City. I went into the servers area. They make rosaries as a little fundraiser, and the servers are sitting there doing rosaries. You look up on the wall, and doggone it, there's a picture of Bishop Slattery on the wall. I was like, hey, I need to get you a picture of the new bishop of Tulsa. So when I go back, I'm taking your picture down there. But they wear University of Tulsa sweatshirts, and they have OU T-shirts on, and I didn't see University of or Texas A&M. I saw one guy with a hat on, but their connection to Oklahoma is really vibrant.
Yeah.
And because I came from Tulsa, I was immediately family.
Sure. Yeah.
And treated as such.
That's awesome. Well, listen, we're looking forward to seeing your account of the time you had there in the October-November issue of our Eastern Oklahoma magazine. We encourage anyone and everyone to volunteer at Catholic Charities. It's an amazing experience, as we've heard about today. And nothing makes you feel better than to know that you're contributing to something that's so rich. So thanks, Kevin, for joining us today. And we wish you and Catholic Charities all our blessings.
Thank you. Well, may I take it back with me? Will you give me your blessing?
I will. The Lord send his blessing upon you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.